welcome to Gootz Disney Pod, and this is season 3. We are now reviewing the live action remakes, and I'm bringing back old guests to review the same movie but different. My first guest this week on this season is Gianmarco. I always do this.
It's fine. It's Gianmarco Soresi.
Yes, Gianmarco Soresi. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. You know, things are starting to feel good. I hope the world's returning. So, yeah, we did this last time in person, though.
Yes, we were last time in person. So if those of you that don't know, we're taping this on the 5th of April, and this weekend was the first weekend the comedy clubs reopened. Gianmarco, how was that?
I mean, you know, it was 33% capacity. So the first time a lot of these clubs can claim that they sold out. It was good. You know, everyone was people were honestly, they were a little too excited. Like some of the audiences were like, instead of laughing, just a lot of clapping. And you're like, okay, all right. They were like wooing at premises.
Okay, wow.
Like, you know, I'm like, I went to college for musical theater and they're like, woo! And I'm like, all right, the joke's ruined. Like, you don't need to be excited about this. Let me do the job. So it was good. It was good to be there, but I'm already reminded of all the clubs I'm not past at, and
yes,
all the places. And some booker posted like, I'm already getting emails from comics asking how they can audition, and you're like, yeah, that's what we do. That's your job, and that's our job to ask how do we audition. That's the system. I don't know what to tell you.
I've never understood bookers getting upset when comics ask them. It's like, how are we supposed to get work? Are we supposed to just magically? I mean, I think they do want us to magically find it for
part of it. They want, yeah, it's the same. I mean, I was an actor first, and it's the same. Casting directors, I'd go to these workshops, and casting directors would come in and they'd complain about like, guys, when we give you auditions, show up on time. And you'd be in a room of 20 actors who have never had an audition in their life, and they're like, we would if you gave us an audition. You're complaining about the people you keep bringing in, and the people who are not having success are the ones who get yelled at the most. And you're like, we're just trying our best here, man.
Yeah, we're just trying to make it work. Whenever I book something, I never get bothered when people message me. It's part of the game, and you just gotta, people want to go up, and you just gotta figure it out. You know, put up who you want to put up.
I mean, you've booked for a long time. I've gone through phases of having monthly shows or weekly shows, and there really does, it hits a point pretty quickly where you were like, oh, I'm making more people upset by not booking them than I am making happy by booking them.
Yes.
And well, I didn't feel horrible thing.
I didn't feel it with the house show because I could do the thing where I don't trust a lot of. I wouldn't book people that I weren't unsure if they were being safe or not.
Sure.
But Caroline's, there were people who thought like they had this narrative in their head that I hated them because I didn't book them, and actually Lewis hated them. No, I'm joking. But actually,
well, there's
actually it was worse than you thought.
There's like all sorts of factors. There's all sorts of reasons, but it's all very. I remember when I first went to Caroline's way in the beginning, where I wasn't even really a comic yet. Like I asked you, you know, because I'm a newbie, and I asked you. I was like, you know, how can I get more shows? And you I mean, you were kind enough. And looking back, like it was a favor to introduce me to Ed Farrell, who ran Old Man Hustle.
Oh wow, yeah, I did do that. Holy shit.
And, you know, to Ed Farrell, he's like, he books, there's one show a night and there's 3 comics on each. I'm a fucking nobody. He doesn't know if I'm like in it for real or if I'm just an actor visiting for one show a year. But, you know, of course I texted him and he never got back to me because especially in the beginning, like there is a certain element of you can't realize until you're in this game for a long time where it's like people need to know that you're actually doing this.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of people who just swing by here and fuck around for a couple months, and you're not worth their time on their show.
Yeah.
Especially also, as you know, with booking, 95% of the people reaching out are straight white men. And like, if I was hosting a show as me and another white guy hosting the show, it's like, that's already 2 white guys. And all my messages were from white guys. And you're like, all right, I'll put you on the list. But we got room for one more of you on each show.
I heard there used to be people talking behind my back that I booked too many women, so you can't.
Wild.
What?
Wild. That's, you know.
But yeah, I know. Like you try to diversify it. You try to book who's funny. You try to book people who are cool, and it's hard. And then sometimes, and you can't get, well, I did my St. Patrick's Day show and I had like 3 friends say like, well, how come I can't be on the show? And I'm like, look, I just want the show to be like 80 minutes and I want to go back to bed. Like, it's this fucking show in my backyard. What do you guys, it's not like, you know what I mean? It's like, who cares?
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It is a thankless job.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, sometimes it's fun to do. So it's more fun. I'm having more fun doing it in my house than I did at Caroline's because
For sure.
I have people that come. I never had any customers come back to a Caroline show. No disrespect to me or you or anyone else who did that show, but nobody ever said I want to come back. But here I have repeat customers and I have people that are fans of me now from this show. And I never got that. I was at America's Premier Comedy Club. I never got that. So
yeah. No, that's very cool to have that.
Yeah. So Gianmarco, since you're the first returning guest, the format's a little bit different. Congratulations, by the way, that you lucked out on this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of asking you about your life, we already knew. Let me see if I remember a lot about you. You grew up liking anime. You were big into Dragon Ball Z. That was kind of like your Disney background.
Yeah.
The last time we spoke was January 30th, 2020. What have you been up to since then?
Well, during the pandemic, I filmed an outdoor special that got released on Amazon called Shelf Life.
Awesome.
And it was released as an album. So that was like my desperate attempt to get something done last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very good about it. And I just started a podcast called The Downside, which is an interview podcast where I kind of encourage guests to be negative and complain and kvetch and whine. And
well, then I'll be a great guest.
I know. I can't wait to have you. It's very new. We're releasing our 4th episode tomorrow, but as you know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I know.
And it's keeping me busy as I slowly return to the real world. I'm fully vaccinated.
Awesome.
And in 12 days, it'll be like the official, like, I guess I still have to wear the mask in public, but I'll have that feeling of like, I could take it off.
Yeah.
Lick a pole.
I do feel like now when you take off a mask on the street, people don't freak out like they did like even a few months ago.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember the first month of this shit,
mm-hmm.
and like walking on the street, and there'd be a homeless person with no mask approaching, asking for money, and like I would react to the level of like a zombie approaching, because it felt so the beginning. I mean, that first me going to the grocery store, it was a 3-hour affair, putting the gloves and the washing everything, and looking back, you're like, oh well, I was being a little crazy. Yeah, but we all were. It was a scary time.
We all were. I mean, I remember talking to some comedians and them being like, "Oh, comedy's over," and I went, "Well, it's not going to be over, but it's definitely going to take a break." And just all the crazy predictions. What?
Some people were being. There's one comedian who I admire, and she was like, "Comedy's not coming back till 2022." And I remember this was like last April, mm-hmm. and I was at home like, oh my, 2022. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, why did I make this my profession? And then there never, it's fine if you want to be like hyperbolic, but there never was a post when she was doing shows, late last year being like, hey, maybe I was exaggerating. Maybe I was freaking out.
If we're honest, like I know there's going to be like documentaries that act like we all lost everything. And I feel like some comedy clubs, I'm not going to, but if we're like really honest, we actually never stopped. And I feel like if a bomb let off, like if right now Iran or someone sent a nuclear missile to New York City and wiped out Manhattan, within 2 weeks, we'd probably be trying to find ways to do shows. You know what I mean?
Sure. Were you here? Because I mean, 9/11, that was 2001.
I wasn't doing comedy, but I was here.
Yeah. I'm just so curious what the next day shows were like, how many days it was before shows came back.
I think Caroline's, from what I remember hearing from the staff back then, they took a month off.
A month off. Wow.
Yeah. And I think the first thing was a roast, and Gilbert Gottfried did a 9/11 joke. And
sure. A great joke.
Yeah, it was a great joke.
A great joke.
And then when everyone laughed, they brought things back. But to be honest with you, I kind of feel this is 20 times worse than 9/11. Here's the thing with 9/11. Like, the next 2 days later, like me and my mom were at Olive Garden because when we wanted to be around Manhattan, we were at Olive Garden, Barnes and Nobles. We were in that. We actually, because my mom wanted to see the view of the city because everybody was like in love in Manhattan that time.
Yeah.
So she liked Olive Garden. I don't know, but she did, whatever. But like, so I was in that area and like things were going on. I think they were still, so like, it sucked. Those buildings went down, but like I didn't lose. My college didn't just vanish because
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I just wonder. I don't know if I would have felt like fear. I definitely would like have stayed on the ground level of
yeah.
all buildings
Hmm.
for a while. That's for sure.
But by October, November, people were like going out to kind of almost like stick it in Osama bin Laden's face, like I'm
Sure.
still going out.
Yeah.
Because this is what I learned about 9/11 versus COVID. When there's like a legit enemy, like if Osama bin Laden created COVID, everyone would have stayed and messed up to like give a fuck you to him. But
Yeah.
when there's like an invisible enemy, we just don't want to rally together. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Yeah, we just like to rally together out of spite against someone else.
That's why I think I had a bit in my special where Trump called it the invisible enemy, and I was like, he really should have like given it a face
Mm-hmm.
and like just really made it someone that Americans could focus on.
Yeah, because when Americans because I think the main thing was that they kept telling everyone in New York, go out, go out, go out, to kind of show that the Taliban. Yeah, it was Taliban that they didn't really affect. I think they thought we would all like just like not go anywhere.
And then companies, I think there was a comedian who talked about it too, where like, I feel like it was what's his name? From Arrested Development, David Cross,
Mm-hmm.
where like, Toyota would be like, buy a Toyota so you can stick it to Osama bin Laden. And it'd be like they used it, companies used it to be like, buy our shit. And that was the same thing with COVID. It was just like, that's why I think a lot of conservatives, were like, don't wear a mask, because it was like, keep the economy moving, keep buying stuff. Oh, what a mess. I think it was too bad. Masks, it felt like we could have made masks cool. Like if I think companies didn't like get into masks soon enough. So you make it a fashion thing. Make it be like,
I was always shocked that it didn't become a fashion thing.
It felt like it was, people were really behind the curve. We were all wearing those shitty blue ones all the time. And like 7-Eleven would sell. I bought one at 7-Eleven because I had to. And it broke within seconds. I finally got like some from Under Armour, and they're nice. They look cool. They breathe well, and I don't know.
I was playing Mortal Kombat during the pandemic, so I said, "Fuck it, I'll get into this again." And I'm looking at the ninjas, and I'm like, "Why didn't the guys who make Mortal Kombat didn't make masks that they could sell at Foot Locker?"
Of course.
Or like people would like, because they look. Everyone thinks those ninjas look so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And they all wear masks. And same thing, the Winter Soldier, I was watching that. And I'm like, wait, we all think masks look cool. Why did we not make more of an effort to make masks cool?
It's very strange. I don't know. Maybe companies just were like, we don't know how long this is going to go on. Mm-hmm. But you're right. I'm sure they sell them now. I've seen them, now every variation. But I would love to wear a ninja.
Yeah, the Sub-Zero mask and stuff.
Yeah.
So for the movie, this is the first remake. I've never seen any of these, so there's no nostalgia with any of these, actually. I think I saw a lot of it in theaters from my friends, and I never saw this one. The first movie we're doing for this season is The Jungle Book from 1994 with Jason Scott Lee. Gianmarco, let's just get right into it. Gianmarco, what did you think?
Well, I had seen this movie.
Oh, you have?
I remembered. I had definitely, I don't know if I saw it in theaters or not, but I was suspicious that I'd seen it before. And then the moment I knew it for sure was the quicksand scene.
Okay.
Where the guy dies in quicksand. And it's John Mulaney had a joke on one of his specials. He said, as an adult, he realized he was shocked by how little quicksand was an issue in his life. Because as a kid, and I remember it too, like quicksand felt very scary. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a very scary concept. You get in and no one can get you out, and you slowly sink to your death. So when I saw that scene, I was like, yes, I did see this as a kid.
Oh, wow. Yeah, what I used to read, like adventure books, choose your own adventure. And in all those books, there was a death, because you would play a kid on an adventure, but there would be death endings.
Like Goosebumps ones?
It was called Choose Your Own Adventure. These were more like about like pirate ships and fighting terrorists and
cool
stuff like that. But they always have an ending, even if it's like you're in New York City, where you die by quicksand. It was constantly like that was an ending.
That's very funny. In New York City, that's the number one fear.
Be like, you walk down the wrong street in Brooklyn, now you're in quicksand.
So I dug this movie partially because I just like that it was very anti-colonialism. It was very much like the white men are bad.
Yeah.
And it honestly, I was like, oh, that's kind of surprising for like a Disney narrative where you really get to show these men. The men are like hyper misogynistic. They describe the treasure as like a jungle. Like everything's about like, I'm the man to get her. When she gets married, they're like she's his property now. And I don't think they ever really give the female lead kind of full agency. She just kind of goes from the one man to the other man.
Hmm.
But I still like to see just this group of white men really just get just eaten by nature.
Yeah. I think no, Shere Khan eats a bunch of them. I remember that.
And
Which
the guy's great. What's his name?
Jason Scott Lee. He was also Bruce Lee in Dragon. Did you ever see that?
Yes. Yes. I definitely, and I knew he looked familiar.
Hmm.
He also, I read, he was originally slated, or he was offered the role of Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat, but turned it down.
Oh, what an idiot.
Um, and he look, that's the kind of body I want to have. The body he has in this movie,
Mhm.
that's like what I would like. He looks great. He
Mhm.
looks so great. And I think I was rooting for him. It was very strange. I mean, I guess this is kind of like a sequel to the cartoon almost.
Well, I think no, it's like a weird remake because I don't know because doesn't he? I think he kills Shere Khan at the end of the cartoon.
Oh, does he? Well,
Yeah.
there's no do they show in the cartoon how he was separated from human beings?
No, they just find him the wolves. They
They
just
just find
find him. And
Yeah,
when
yeah,
he
yeah.
goes back, he goes back to a brown girl. He meets a brown girl,
Oh,
another Indian girl, and he goes with her at the end of the cartoon. Yeah.
I see. I see.
So there was
Like
no
this
like white girl that he was along with.
this it had a very strange narrative in the beginning because it showed him and the girl as kids, like 6-year-olds or 5-year-olds or something.
Mhm.
And they really like had this romance going on as 5-year-olds where he tried to give her a kiss and she gave him a bracelet. And I'm like, I think it would be better if, maybe when he hit puberty, he realized he was gay. Like, you don't know, they're 5. They had this just weird romantic, like,
Well, did you see? He's kind of looking at her, and there's slow motion of her dancing, like of the 5-year-old girl, and you're supposed to be like you're seeing it through Mogwai's eyes, but it's like this is kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's just there's weird. I always think about there's a lot of like heteronormative things we put on kids where
Yes.
like the 5-year-old guy, you're like, so got any girlfriends yet? And it's like, no, they don't even feel things like that. Let them just be a kid.
I
Because if you
I
went
mean,
up to a kid, if you went up to like someone else's 5-year-old son and say, hey, you got any boyfriends yet? Their parents would be like, what the fuck did you just say to our kid?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They punch you in the fucking face. Yeah, when I was 5 years old, like I thought there were two cute girls. There were two girls in there that I thought were cute. They vanished. I have no interest now in ever. I mean, if one of them was like showed at my house, I'd be like, oh, what have you been up to for fucking 35 years? But like,
Sure.
I'm not like still like thinking about them and stuff or anything like that. I just thought of them now because you brought that up, which is a great point, which is this guy's 20 and he's still thinking about a girl he met when he was 5, which is kind of weird and creepy.
Yeah, there's like one or two people in my life where I knew them not that young, but like I knew them maybe when we were 18. And then like once when I was 20, when we were 29, it was like we hooked up and I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
Right?
it would have been more cool if I could go back to when I was 18. I was like, yo, you're going to fuck her one day.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Well,
But,
I had girls in my grade school that were kind of nasty to me. I think they have like these crushes on me.
Oh.
But I mean, I don't do anything about it because they have like 4 kids and
Wow. 4 kids.
And I'm just like, I just want to do stand up. I don't want to like get involved in a 40-year-old woman with 4 kids. I just want to.
Yeah, man. I mean, I will see if I ever have a phase where I date someone with kids. My dad dated with kids and dated women with kids, and it is complicated.
It is. It can get complicated fast, and it's a whole. Unless like you and her get along really well, it's just a whole.
You get along, but like my dad, I think my dad was always of the mindset. He was like, I don't care about the kids. That's your business. Like my dad would like try to be like, okay, well, I'm just not gonna like I don't need to like the kids. And it's like, well, you do.
Yeah,
Because they're
because if
her
this works
kids.
out, they're kind of gonna hang around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then if the kids want you guys to break up, they'll make it happen.
yeah.
They will put that pressure on, and eventually something will crack.
Oh yeah, just look at Woody Allen. But
There you go.
but yeah, it's a wild time. I I I didn't have any interest in this movie when I was a kid, and when I watched it, I realized why. Because once I found out the animals didn't talk, I was like, well, if the animals don't talk, I mean,
Sure.
how could this be Jungle Book? I mean, I don't know. I didn't think there was enough of the animals, especially Baloo. Baloo had such a small part.
Yeah. And so when like Baloo almost dies, but like is fine,
Mm-hmm.
Baloo, he's emotional about this bear, and you're like, well, that is a human eating bear.
Yeah,
There's
he
a
never
lot
really
of
spent that much time. Yeah,
like they have this debate where he's talking to the evil main white guy,
mm-hmm.
and he's like, you hunt uh animals for sport, we only hunt animals to eat. And I was like, both of those are horrifying to me. If someone was about to kill me and said, don't worry though, I'm doing this so I can eat you, that's no more comforting than this is for sport.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's my main problem, where I'm just like, all of this is terrible. I don't think the jungle, like, part of it is like the code of the jungle is more morally righteous, and I'm like, no, that's really fucked up too. I don't want to be part of that code.
Well, the code is better when it's the animals, but they can't articulate, so they have Mogwai. But when a human articulates, it's like, well, you don't have to do either. You could probably live off plant life, and you don't really have to hunt like bears or tigers in the jungle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The animals though, I don't know which was CG, which was robots, and which was not. They were all pretty good, except the anaconda snake, which was the fakest looking piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
This anaconda, like, its head pops up, and I'm like, oh, we should have spent more time on this puppet for sure.
Yeah, I think this was the beginning when they realized we could CGI animals instead of like working with a bunch of animals who can't act. And and I don't think they did such a great job of it.
The monkeys were fantastic actors. Those little
monkeys, I think the monkeys were real. They were
very
good.
funny. Very
King
funny.
Louis did have a bigger part than in the cartoon.
But what did he do? He just smiled and did. There's a certain extent where, like, clearly primates in things, they just go like, and that's like, somehow that's their whole story. That's all they can do.
Well, they had King Louis go like when he was upset, and he smiled when he was happy Mogwai was winning. So they would just cut to him. He was kind of like the play-by-play guy of the fight between Mogwai and Carrie Ewis, who plays the bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the big fight in the treasure room at the end.
I mean, the deaths were they're all horrifying. The quicksand is horrifying. The second sand death, I remember that one too, because it's a horrifying, the sand pouring down and the ceiling coming down and just being entombed in sand. That's very scary.
Yeah. There was the deaths were pretty hardcore. Some of the themes were pretty hardcore. This wasn't like a kitty movie. This was like, there was some serious stuff going on.
And then when the bad guy falls in the water and sees all the skulls, all those things I remembered. And it's just funny because I'm just like, clearly I probably saw this when it came out. What year was it?
94.
94. So like, I feel like I watched this when I would have been 6 or 7, and like, clearly those very scary moments stuck with me because I remembered all 3 of those deaths.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like probably parents flocked to this movie because it's like, oh, it's the Jungle Book. I loved it as a kid. And then when they got there, they were like, there sure is a lot of death here. And Shere Khan is like killing the humans.
Yeah.
There's no songs.
I think Mowgli's a great actor. I think he learned English incredibly fast.
Oh, incredibly fast. Yeah.
like that, I mean, he got like a Rosetta Stone education, and in 2 days he was already going to functions. And I mean, there's a certain extent with the Jungle Book where I'm like, Mowgli has got to be fucking some of these animals.
Yeah.
There's no way, as you're the only human being and you're friends with the animals and you go all the way through puberty and you don't have Baloo give you a hand job even. There's none of that.
I
Like,
can see that. Him and Baloo were pretty close in this movie.
like I would have liked him to have been like, because he was like pretty clean for someone who lived in a jungle. Like I would have loved to see him like take a shit in the middle of the party, take a shit while he's walking, and like
Yeah.
her have to deal with like he's
Lift
really
up the
hot.
leg. Yeah.
He's pooping
Mhm.
everywhere, and because like I think the biggest problem was like the bad guy was too bad, and Mowgli was too like, yeah, you should be with Mowgli. He's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah. The bad guy was so racist and such a scumbag, and it was just so over the top that like how could she even like for a second want to be with someone like that? If she's, you know what I mean? It's like he's so over the top bad. He's not even pretending to be good for half a second.
Yeah, and you never saw them like be in love, so you just didn't feel that conflict.
Yeah, it's just like she has to be engaged to an asshole to have the plot work, but the guy's got to be a little likable at some point.
Yeah, I agree. And then I thought John Cleese did an admirable job. He was very, very funny. Very
I didn't know he was going to be in this
understated.
movie. It was great to see him. Yes.
I was never a Monty Python guy.
Mhm.
I need to go back someday. It was
Oh,
never
really?
my speed, but
I was into them, but now like as they're getting older and they're kind of revealing more of their political leanings, I'm kind of
yeah.
like,
Well, when
maybe
John Cleese had that thing. He went after what's her name? A stand-up comedian, where she had a bit about like struggling to find her pussy because of her weight, and like John Cleese like tweeted like, "Oh, Netflix would rather give money for special for someone who can't find the pussy in the folds of the obesity." And she obviously saw it and retweeted it and has way more followers than John Cleese does. But it was just like such a nasty thing coming from someone who's had an incredible career.
Yeah.
Just to be like, yeah, I'm gonna snipe at this young comedian.
Well, you know his daughter does stand up, right?
No, what's her name?
I forget, but the last name is Cleese, and it's someone. She's not around here. I think she's mainly in LA. But I think a lot of his bitterness is that I think he thought he could walk into somewhere that's John Cleese, my daughter's here, give her a special, and I don't think that happens. I think he's like,
oh wow,
yeah.
I wonder if she's good. I wonder
I don't think she's good. I don't think so. I could be wrong. I don't. Well, I think if she was good, we'd hear more about her. That's all I'll say.
It's always incredible because like sometimes kids do seem to like get their parents' talent genes, and then sometimes it's like not at all.
Yeah, and it's rough. It's got to be rough to be John Cleese's daughter because there's such a high expectation, and then you're up there. I don't know, just not killing, and then it's like, you know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, you've seen Richard Pryor's son. Have you ever seen that clip at the Apollo, him getting booed off?
Yes.
And at some point, he's getting booed. I mean, it is a rough set. It is a rough set to bring to the Apollo. And at some point, he's getting booed. I think he said to try to get them to stop, he's like, "Do you know who I am?" Some kind of statement that, like, at the Apollo, you're going to get slammed. Mm-hmm. You're going to get booed so hard. And then Steve Harvey came out. He was like, let's give him one more shot. His father was really great. And then he does another bit that's pretty bad, but they don't boo him out of respect. Yeah. I don't know. If I had a son or a daughter and they wanted to do stand-up, I'd be like, look, just so you know, my standing will not help you.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm the same way. I'll be like, I have no pull. Actually, you should probably hide that you're my kid. I'll give more spots. Oh man, yeah, John Cleese, he was good in the movie. Overall, I mean, the movie was very 90s. Felt very, very 90s.
And to help me understand, what does that mean?
It just like the music had like a 90s twang, like the orchestra music, and like just the overlong plot and the love story, and it being silly but also being dark.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, again, these deaths were very. Oh, there was one scene where he's being held by one of the soldiers. Mowgli's being held, and he bites him. Like that's the thing. Like, this man is such a savage, but he knows how to use his teeth when he needs it. And the bite was so fake. Like it was it was just like over. Like he totally didn't touch the guy's arm, and the guy's like, and he escaped.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing about the movie, I just feel like I like the original Jungle Book. What did you think of it? I can't remember. I think you thought it was just okay. The original Jungle Book.
Yeah, I thought I dug it. I don't know. I've grown tired of talking animals.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much of. I mean, think of all the talking animal things that I don't know. It just didn't resonate. I didn't care enough about the boy. What was the main conflict? It was just fighting the
It
Shaka.
was Shere Khan wanted to eat
Shere Khan.
him, and the snake wanted to get to him. And I think the panther was like, "We got to get him back to the humans." And Baloo was like, "Nah, fuck that. I just want to chill
Yeah.
with this kid." Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it was fine. It wasn't bad,
Mm-hmm.
but it was never one of my favorite Disney movies. And
My thing is like with this movie, it's like I feel like they were like, okay, it's not enough that he's like a kid raised by animals. To me, that's like an interesting story. Kid raised by animals. They're like, we got to immediately get him away from the animals and fall in love because the love story worked in Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, which we just did.
yeah,
And then we've got to have this huge adventure like Indiana Jones. We got to get Sam Neill because he just did Jurassic Park. And
sure.
there's like a lot of like extra things where it's like you're trying so hard to be extra epic. It kind of like it just sometimes got too much. The movie, I thought.
Well, this was before they could. I mean, I feel like all the live action animal talking movies have not gone over very well. I didn't see the Lion King remake, the live action one. Did you see that? I'm
gonna have to watch it for this, but I watched a few seconds and it was brutal. It was.
I mean, it looks. It just reminds you. You're like, yeah, they're cartoons for a reason, because if you try to make a Pumbaa, what kind of animal is he? A warthog. If you try to make a warthog, like a warthog's face is only so expressive.
That's exactly it. Yes. You know, a giraffe isn't meant to emote. Like a dog can emote and a cat can emote. Even a cat can only emote so much. But you're right. These animals aren't meant to emote. So the more realistic you make it, the more kind of this is brutal.
Yeah, and all the Lion King, they just all the animals look like they had dead eyes.
Yeah,
they're just like you can't see their inner thoughts, and then they're singing, and it just doesn't make any sense.
No, I'm dreading seeing that, but I am going to see it in a few weeks for this show. So overall, Gianmarco, what would you give this movie?
Is this out of 10?
Yeah, let's do fuck it out of 10. Yeah.
I will give it a 6.5.
Okay.
You can round it to 7 if you want, because I think it had some cool action sequences.
Mm-hmm.
I think I liked that the bad guy was colonialism and like this, you know, what would be the princes in other Disney movies. They were the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in support of embracing nature. So yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's a decent 90s flick.
I'll give it a little lower. I would go with a 5. I just I don't know. I know this sounds stupid because you're right. They don't emote. You make a great point. But I did kind of want more with the animals just because it's called the Jungle Book. And it's like,
I hear you. I mean, Baloo is, I mean.
Baloo's barely it. Then he gets shot. And I'm like, are they really going to kill Baloo? And then Baloo just lying there like a sack of shit the rest of the movie. And I'm like, oh okay. That's
and then Baloo just comes back, right?
They off camera, John Cleese, I guess, fixed them.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to kill. There was not enough animal deaths. Did any animals die?
No animals died.
Well, come on. All these guns and not one animal. Fucking, I mean, I think that's, if I was doing it, I'd either have a lot more animal deaths, a lot. Or I'd have like Mowgli like save the day, and then Shere Khan eats him, and as he's dying, he's like, "It's okay, because I'm food." That's honorable.
That's a good one. Yeah, I did think it was kind of cool that they kind of set up Shere Khan. Well, actually, I don't think it's kind of cool because the movie begins with them setting up Shere Khan as kind of like the bad guy, like the whole fucking the little caravan. No Shere Khan by name, like he's a dude.
Yeah.
And Shere Khan kind of causes Mowgli to be separated from his dad. But then in the movie, Shere Khan kind of saves the day and just eats the bad guy. He's kind of like forgotten about and then shows up and just eats Carrie Lewis, and then that's it.
Yeah. I just think being older, it's hard. I can't get behind the premise of like, oh, animals are innocent and people are good. Like, did you ever see? I think it's called Grizzly Man.
Yes, I saw that.
And there's that scene. What's the director's name? The famous
Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog. He's listening. Oh boy, what a haunting scene. He's the guy who was eaten by the bears. He left his camera on, no video, but audio. And Werner Herzog on camera listens to whatever the camera picked up of this man being eaten by bears. And Werner Herzog, who is like, is no stranger to darkness, says to, I believe it's this guy's sister or his former lover, says like, don't ever listen to this tape. Yeah. This is the most upsetting thing. So when I see a bear, I'm like, yeah, maybe shoot the bear.
Yeah. I
can't get behind like, oh, this bear's good. I'm like, this bear would eat all of you if it was in the right mood.
I like dogs and cats, but even my cat, like, there are mornings where I don't want to get out of bed. And the cat wants me to like give it some treats or whatever. And twice it's knocked down my glasses from the desk I have it on. Oh. And I know it does that on purpose because there's a lot of things that can knock down, but it knows I need that. So I think there's like almost like a vicious streak. Like, you're not fucking listening to me. Go fuck yourself. And I do think animals have that vicious streak, which is why, at least a cat can't eat me, but a fucking pit bull or a tiger, they're going to fucking kill
I think if you woke up and your cat, grew to be the size of a tiger, you'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this.
Yeah, because I think the cat then would be like, oh, I'll just eat him if he's not going to feed me in time. Yeah.
Oh boy, that would be a very if they came up with a machine, you could enlarge people's pets and you could test, will they eat you if they could?
Yeah, I think my cat would, because my cat was hungry that morning and I was very tired. The minute I knocked down my glasses, like, you did that on purpose. I know you did that on purpose. Because I need those. I need those glasses. Gianmarco. So in 8 weeks, I'm going to be up to the 2016 Jungle Book. Will you come back to examine?
Sure, why not? Let's finish this thing out.
Let's do it. All right, so you're going to be back in 8 weeks. What do you have to plug? This is going to come out in 2 weeks from today, which is the 5th of April. Anything to plug?
Yeah, just listen to my podcast, The Downside. It's on all the podcast platforms, and that's my big thing right now. Follow me online at Gianmarco Soresi and listen to The Downside.
And guys, please subscribe to this podcast. This is your first time listening. If you're a huge fan of Jason Scott Lee or John Cleese, you're John Cleese's daughter coming to kill us. Please subscribe to the podcast. I've done season 1 was all the animated Disney films. Season 2 is Pixar. Now we're on season 3, the live action remakes. Next week is 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close. I'm going to be reviewing that with Mike, Mr. Industry. Mike Gill, that was his last name. You knew him, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's come back to do that movie. Have you ever seen that version, by the way?
I feel like I did.
I watched it the other day, and it's basically Home Alone with Glenn Close. It's like she gets put like in a house and trapped, and she's really acting because she's Glenn Close, and she's like one of the greatest actors. But she's like yelling at beavers, like, "You beaver, I'll kill you!" And then like a fucking paint can falls in her head. I'm like, did they really just redo Home Alone with Glenn Close? I felt bad, but also in awe of her.
Sure. I'm sure she acted the shit out of it.
Oh, she was amazing. She was incredible. Guys, thank you so much. More Glenn Close talk next week here in season 3, episode 2 of the podcast. Thank you again, Gianmarco.
Peace.
On the show. Peace, guys. Thank you so much.